I'm Sam, and I'm an OpenSciEd teacher and facilitator. Today, we're going to be going over lesson 3 for the bath bombs unit. And I really love teaching this lesson because, a lot of times building vocabulary, which is what this lesson is really based around, can be really boring for students. But when we allow the students to have experiences from which to draw upon to build their vocabulary, I find that this lesson can be so fun to do with my students. So, how did we get to this lesson? In the last lesson, lesson 2, we figured out that the gas was not trapped inside the bath bomb or stuck inside the bath bomb. Rather, the gas was coming from the bath bomb and water mixing together. So, in this lesson, the students are left wondering, what's in a bath bomb that's producing the gas? Let's look at the lesson at a glance to figure out how will we answer this question. This lesson is a 2-day lesson, and it will have a couple different investigations that are hands-on that the students will be completing in order to figure out what's producing the gas. On day 1, we observe the bath bomb ingredients. That's without just looking at them. And so how did they get there? Well, they say, we want to know what the ingredients in a bath bomb are. So you provide them a list of ingredients from all of the homemade bath bomb recipes and the store-bought bath bombs. They look for patterns and find out that there are 10 common ingredients. Once they see that there are 10 common ingredients, they ask to observe the bath bomb ingredients, and that concludes day 1. On day 2, the students will take the ingredients, they'll mix them one by one with water, they'll interpret their data, and begin to build a word wall, where they're going to define words such as dissolve, soluble, insoluble, substance, and property. And in order to do that, they will analyze the data that they have collected both on day 1 and day 2 by observing the ingredients with and without water. So what do we figure out? Those really key parts to this lesson are that substances in a bath bomb have properties that help us to identify them. They help us to tell them apart, right? Like solubility, odor, state of matter at room temperature, melting point, density, and color. We also figure out that adding only one substance in a bath bomb to water does not actually cause the gas bubbles to appear. So here are some moments that I think are really important to this lesson that you're going to want to pay attention to and kind of watch out for. On day 1, in part 2, the students begin by observing the bath bomb ingredients. They're going to look at all of those 10 common ingredients in their natural state, so without water. We really want the students to make careful observations. So when I initially tried this and I handed it out to my students, I looked at their data and I saw that they were all writing things like they're all white. Okay, well, we need the students to be more detailed than that. And so something that I do in my own classroom is I ask the students this question, all of these ingredients right now have labels on them so that we can tell the difference between them. But what if tomorrow I took these labels off and I gave you a quiz? What kinds of things could you write down rather than they're all white to be able to tell them apart? And that kind of gears them to give more detailed observations because now they're worried about this pretend quiz that's coming, but it really does help them to write detailed observations that will help them tell the ingredients apart from each other. At the end of this part, though, the kids are like, wait a minute. We only looked at the ingredients. We still can't tell which ingredient is actually making the bubble. So that brings us to day 2. On day 2, the students then in part 6 say, we've looked at them by themselves. We don't know which one causes bubbles. Well, duh, let's add them to water. And so what you'll do is that you'll have each student or group of students mix the ingredients with water one at a time. Something that I have found that I need to do is that I need to remind the students or have them remind me that we are looking for bubbles like we saw with the bath bomb. And I'll even take a cup of water and put a bath bomb under the doc cam so that everyone can see those bubbles again. Because what I found in the past is that when students add things like the olive oil to the water, they see bubbles and they say, okay, I saw bubbles there, so that means the olive oil is creating the bubbles. And so when they can have that side-by-side comparison, I'm looking for bath bomb or bubbles like the bath bomb, then they won't say it's coming from the olive oil. Now, if you do the lab as written in the teacher's guide, you'll see that you are supposed to give pairs of students 2 ingredients to try. And so you want to really be aware of the ingredients that you're giving the students, if you do it as written in the teacher guide, that you're not giving one pair something like baking soda and citric acid, because when those 2 ingredients combined, like they might accidentally do, because we know our students, right, that those 2 would react. And so we want to avoid that. So just be mindful. If you do it as written in the teacher guide, be sure that you're not giving 2, like a pair of ingredients that will react. In part 7, so now they have mixed all of the ingredients with water and they have collected some data. We now come back and we are going to analyze and interpret our data to develop a word wall. In the teacher guys, there's some suggested prompts, but remember, make this your own. Make it work for what's happening within your classroom. In the picture that you see, I have a sample word wall. This is what my word wall in my classroom looks like. You can see that there are definitions and there are pictures, but what I want to remind y'all is that my students created these word walls and these definitions. So this is what my students defined the words as. There are more samples in the teacher guide, but what I really again want to suggest is that when defining the words, they need to come from student language. What are your students saying in your classroom? So it's okay if they don't look exactly like mine look here. So how do we get to these words? Well, the students begin by relating their data to the scientific vocabulary. And again, there are prompts in the teacher guide that you can follow, but I always start by kind of asking my students, well, which one of the ingredients disappeared when we put them in water? And at this point, one thing I do in my own classroom is I start to do more demos so that I'm creating more experiences for my students to have with these words prior to earning them. So for example, they might say that the salt dissolves. So I have a cup, I have some salt, I dump the salt in, I stir it up, and sure enough, it disappears. And then I give them the word. Well, that what you guys are talking about means that the salt can dissolve. Now, one other thing that's written in the teacher guide that I know that I need to do with my students is my students are coming to me and don't have elementary experience with science or very minimal experiences with science. So I ask them if it's possible to get the salt back. And they'll say things like, oh, we could put it outside in the sun, or we could put it on a heater of some sort. And so I take that cup of salt and I put it on a hot plate and I leave it there while I continue going over more vocabulary. And again, as I'm going over more of these vocabulary words, I'm doing more demonstrations with them so that they will be able to really retain this vocabulary and use it in future lessons. One thing that I always notice is really great for my students is usually in my consensus model from lesson 1, there are 1 or more students who say that the bath bomb was melting. Now is a great time for you to come back to that claim because they can define what the word melt means, especially after experiencing coconut oil. Take a little coconut oil, put it on students' hands, ask them to notice what they see is happening. They'll say it's turning from a solid to a liquid. And that's with heat. And so we're able to go back to our bath bomb and say, wait a minute, we didn't add heat to our bath bomb, so bath bomb's not melting. Okay, great. So that's pretty much the lesson. And where do we go from here? Well, you have an exit ticket. And students on this exit ticket will typically write that they want to now mix 2 ingredients together because, you know, nothing happened when we mixed with 1. And so you're ready to go to that next lesson. So what are some material management tips and tricks for this lesson? All right, so there are a lot of different ways that we can set up these different labs that the kids are going to be doing. For example, in my class, I set the ingredients out in 1 to 2 ounce souffle cups because one, it's easy management for me. All the ingredients are out. They're in containers that aren't going to necessarily spill and get all over the place. And it's really easy for me to quickly clean up all 10 containers at the end of the period. Other teachers have suggested to create stations with one ingredient at each station and have the students rotate through the stations because they say that this reduces cross-contamination. And then finally, on day 2, when you do mixing an ingredient with water, something that I do is I give my students all 10 ingredients. I really stress the idea of cross-contamination, and they do really take it seriously. And I will provide my students trays with holes in them. That could be ice cube trays, that could be C-Pup trays, or any other kind of tray that you have. And that allows them to test all 10 ingredients with water to see what happens. And then they don't have to rely on each other yet. Because that's not something that they trust yet. We haven't built that classroom community maybe where we believe what one group is saying actually happened. And so if we all collect our own data and have it in our notebooks, then that's more reliable for my students at this time in the school year. Property. Now, if you remember that word wall that we were building, this might be one of the harder words to develop with them. But I want to stress that it is okay if students don't fully understand this word property yet. We want to get it on the word wall because you will come back to it again at the beginning of lesson 4. So again, it's okay if they don't get it, but let's get it on that word wall. Word wall management. Words that we will definitely earn: property, substance, soluble, state of matter at room temperature. Words that we encounter. This means that it's okay if they make it to our word wall. It's also okay if they don't. Dissolve, mixture, viscosity, insoluble, and solubility. And that brings us to the end of lesson 4. Again, I really enjoy teaching this lesson. I think it's a great way for students to develop vocabulary. And I hope that y'all gained something from these tips and tricks and hope that you tune in for lesson 4.